Hello, welcome to Animist Astrology. This is May 2025, and we are having a moment with the stars that I wanted to share some story about. The star lore as it streams through in this moment on May the 3rd, 2025. It has a certain structure of contractual death, a transformative agreement to grant a wish, perhaps. It's a resurrection and a revisiting to the narrative of the resurrection when the everlife was achieved through prayer and Jesus and Mary went off. What happened after he left the cave and went off with Mary? What happened? For each of us, we have a different story from there. But I think we do live this pattern in the springtime with resurrection. And near Beltane and the May Queen, we are resurrected. That's why it stands opposite Samhain and Death's Door. We do have in the stars right now a Pluto Aquarius opposite the Mars and Moon in Leo. And square Taurus with Uranus stationed there. There's a change. This is a transformative change in the collective. There's a new king, a new ego, a new rulership of empire. And I think, actually, because Aquarius has the realm of the underworld, there's something really egalitarian and collective. Like, everyone is a new ruler of empire. And where we're landing in the stars is a huge stack up in this constellation of Aries. There are many planets there, and they're forming a path all together, some of them conjuncted, but they're just such a great cluster, a posse of Saturn and Venus and Mars together, getting along. Neptune and Mercury. This just seems like such a great stack up. It's interesting because there's so much great energy in here, all colluding, all coming together, a convergence of all the main players, like a huddle. And a new contract, I think, because Saturn is there too. And because it's an Aries, it's a new beginning. It's the resurrection, so it's the risen one. New story. Pisces has the North Node right next to it. So this is almost a path leading up to the North Node, which I think is everyone's true wish come true from their heart of their soul. And to have Pisces North Node leading us this year, while we have this new rebirth of a new contract, a new self, a new ego, a new sense of rulership, a new sense of value being informed in that with some change in the value system with Taurus. It looks like everyone gets to be their dream self with their dream job. Like their new job is, the new contract is everyone gets to be their dream self. And actually be the authentic self that is here to experience a wish come true and come to be on a soul level. Like a soul wish coming true. There might be great loss because Pisces is the last sign. In the storms of February, they do cleanse and just take out everything that's come before, which is necessary right now. It's important, like when we have Tashlik and we clear out all the bread and all the stuff from last year and we pray with it to just release all of our bad habits and qualities and everything. And it's a great ritual. Water under the bridge, literally to throw it into moving water. And also to blow the shofar and to like bring in the ram's horn of Aries and to bring in the new life. So you might feel a sense of great loss or change. There may be something devastating or tragic. Many people are experiencing that. But there is, I think, a really collective rumbling and uprising and collective organizing at the same time. And it's bigger than it's ever been. It's a global one. What I do see is everybody conspiring around a sense of belonging and revolution that everyone belongs in, that everyone can be in. Like a right for everyone to belong in this world. It may be important to transform beyond what we've allowed before, and to align with nature and the world in that way. I'm not saying anything that's unnecessary need transform. I just mean that all necessary transformations need happen, and that is what alignment is with the universe right now. And it's at a deep level of the seed of the self, of resurrection, of rebirth, a new contract with life that does support your true authentic identity, living into its deep soul dream. So if that's the beginning of the story now, what might you be sacrificing and seeing loss to? What might you be keening over in rivers of tears and moving water and pouring your prayers of release of old toxic things? You know, what is released in your outpourings when you drink the nettle tea and the cleavers and release through the spring creeks, you know, your own ecosystem's worth of buildup? And when we release and make this leap into the stream of life going forward, right? It's time to join the sunrise, you know, like the energy that awakens and that is new again. Everyone has a dream job, a dream self, a soul dream. Perhaps you don't even think about it ever. And maybe it's been years to think about it. Maybe you've never allowed yourself to really think about some of that. Now would be a time to align with the deepest truth of yourself, because the world is doing that. Why is it aligning with the deepest truth of itself right now? Why do we care about the stars? You know, our planet is among many planets in orbit in this system around different points. Some of the planets are orbiting in like a galaxy, like in like a universe, I mean, around the sun. And then there's other points of orbit, like around the center of the Milky Way. And it reminds me of one of those amusement park rides that goes like up and down and around this way. Like it's just both, and many different ways. The planets actually rotate and orbit in different ones. Like Venus doesn't orbit the same as the others, goes the other way. Isn't that funny? But they're all going Widdershins anyways, and she goes the other way, the right way. There's so many layers where what's real is backwards, which is funny, because isn't what's real supposed to maybe represent a majority or some kind of agreed upon overculture, of consensus reality. Consensus seems to infer a majority. I'm not sure. Because the majority of what's going on is actually in the mental, emotional, spiritual realm, and it's invisible. Our bodies actually are the majority, that, and the bodies of all life are that. And what we're experiencing is actually the majority on that level. So the majority of what's real is subjective. It's important for everybody, though, to deepen into what they think that is, and to align with life in a deeper way, and to hear a calling of a new story, a new character, a new role, a new life, a rebirth, a resurrection. What is that for you? A lot has changed. A lot has come to be, and it took a lot of transformation for it too. So, what is the new you? For what dream? What's the new job? New love story? The messenger of what truth are you? What do you protect and what protects you? What truth are you a vessel for? And we have all these constellations going around in an elliptic. We have many orbits that form interesting shapes with their elliptic. These are tensions. They pull on each other. There's different variations of gravity among the planets. And they have pull on each other in space. It's actually kind of like our bodies have organs, and they're like the different planets. There's just different densities of gravities and this sense of tensegrity and pulling and balancing that's happening. A constant co-moving spheres of orbit, and it's like molecules, you know. It reminds me how you'd be in the desert, like in the Aboriginal art practice, and doing sand paintings, and it'll look like the universe in a real zoomed out way, but it'll also look like if you look up close and zoom into a lizard's back, it's the same. And it reminds me too of that kind of scale jumping, you know, that's multiplicitous, it's happening all at once. It's very true. And at the same time, in our modern world, it's super narrowed in its version of what's true and what it interacts with this truth. There's this sense of like, science doesn't know what to do with these things, but they do explain something important for us as we look at satisfying soul gifts, is that we have to really take in who we really are. There's some collective transformation and liberation through the self discovering a soul dream calling, being initiated by that and awakened into it with a new life, having gone through a resurrection. There's something here new for everybody that's not been lived in their lifetimes of reincarnation, that their lineages didn't live. There's like a very new story for each person to live. And remembering that each person has, of course, many things that they are continuations of and with, as a garden and a well of sacred flow. It will always be there. A flame, it will always be there. There is so much continuation, but and remembering and all that. But there's a new now. It's a deeper level, and everybody must listen for that truth and calling and allow and make space for release and to join the river of yes, to go forward into a very new self and a very new dream and new job. So everybody, good luck with that. Also, just wanted to have a moment just to say goodbye to Neptune and Pisces, because Neptune and Pisces was really hard for 12 years. We slogged through some really intense north nodes, like intense work, intense conjunctions that were very long standing in their effect and buildup. And we have just an era of death and decompositions of structures and systems of old empire that do see a real turning point, I think, right now, um, after they have deteriorated to a certain point, and there is actually no going back. Like, I think the figureheads of it are crumbling, and there's like a new collective thing. It's making space for new levels of people to express and discover themselves, and to live in the adventure of the self as ongoing theater research and heroism. It's a kind of soul calling level. Perhaps there's more space to define life in a more myriad of ways than we've ever allowed or seen or experienced. So creating new memories, new, really deep, new beginnings of self. I really feel everything that comes in the spring and at dawn, where all the birds are singing and the light is vibrant. I feel the worlds of the divine weaving with our world and coming back to us to take over the world again with magic and music and old kinds of star lore and gardens that are full of its seasons, and our body is an extension of that. It's time to bloom new ways and remember the old. It's very exciting, because the remembering of the old is just, we're going to be guided deeply by the animist cultures that will be remembered. They're going to really guide new um, landscapes of belonging self, because we've mixed the world, cultures, and geographies so much that, yeah, it's so diverse. It's almost cracked a code, and the descendants now are free from certain bounds and bonds of continuity that were being served. There's not a need for those dogmas and organizations anymore of large-scale cults as much. There's more room for creating life creatively, intuitively, animately, instinctively, living in an animate landscape, an animist life with all sentient beings in connection again, and discovering the self. We have such an interesting bunch of modern culture to mix in that, and technologies of the old and new to mix together. It's going to be fascinating. It is fascinating. Even this that I'm doing right now is an old bardic culture of oral tradition, channeling, star lore, bringing together the chart of the moment with the stories, as I see it, as a modern bard, a druid, a mystic, a transgender healer. I do see, as an alchemist and an earth walker, just some things that are important to weave in with astrology. It's important for people to understand some of the context that we're in, because we are seeing such great large change. Um, to be grateful that there's a great soul awakening and new beginning. That these old structures are really rearing their head for the last time on their way out, and actually destroying themselves on the way too, a bit quicker, which is great, because I wondered what would, so there's a catalyzation of movement and change that's quite real, dramatic, very big. It's good to root into what you value, what your collective truth, what your truth is within the collective, and what your deep spiritual connection is, and who are you, and what is your process of becoming that more and more and more, deepening and expanding. And that is a new kind of continuity. Multiplicities, counterintuitive things, opposite logics, polarity bridging. In a space of creative alchemy, there's a synergism that's upon us that is focusing, grounding, allowing a sanctuary of the self to distill and to be the finite reality that is definitive. It's actually way more subjective, and there's a freedom to that and a trust that from each of the strengths of our own heart to the strengths of others' hearts, we are all awakened with purpose and life in deep trust and enjoyment of each other's strength. And we're here with that fight. And that we build trust not codependently or hierarchically, but really together and fighting for each of us to have the same thing, the same kind of power. That would be amazing. Um, I feel like there is a sense of dissemination of power and leadership. And I want to throw out into the cosmos a question for each of you, each person to ask, what is your dominion and what is your truth? What do you protect and what protects you? What calls your soul's heart into its deepest awakening? And what is the true you? If you bend a knee to what, with what heart, and with the ancestors in the land and the stars all colluding, our fascia between, the mycelium below, the stars above, we are a web weaving, and this story matrix of seen and unseen is returning to its true origins in the modern world, right at home. And in this interweb, this message goes out truly as it knows, as the crow flies through the raven's eye, and down through time. So it is. So it shall be forevermore.